Peace and blessings, everybody. My name is LaKisha Reddit. I am owner of Virtuously Birth Doula Services, and I'm excited to have you with me today to talk about. So, you want to be a doula? Let's chat about it. Let's talk all about it. Okay. So before we get started, I'll tell you a little bit about myself. My name is again LaKisha Reddit. I am the owner of Virtuously Birth Doula Services here in St. Louis, Missouri. I offer birth support, postpartum support, as well as bereavement support, placenta encapsulation, birth pool rentals, everything. Your girl does it. Okay. And so coming into this work, you want to make sure that you're absolutely ready for it. As we see recently, there's been an increase in the amount of doulas that we have seen trained. And as a doula, just want to make sure that you feel ready and that you feel prepared to take whatever this life as a doula hands over to you. And so, one of the first things I wanted to tell you about is knowing what your understanding of a doula is. Okay. What is your understanding of a doula? Because one of the things that you may see here and there is doulas delivering babies and all that stuff, and that is not a part of our scope of practice. We are non-medical professionals. We don't perform clinical tasks. We don't take blood pressures. We don't do blood sugars. We don't do weight checks. Any of those clinical tasks that you might get done at your provider's office, we do not offer that. Now, what I can do as a doula is know how to use those types of equipment so that way you can be coached on how to use it, but I am not the one performing the clinical tasks. Upon you taking your blood pressure and taking your glucometer test, testing your sugar levels, you would then give that information to your provider. So we are not medical professionals. Any doula that says, hey, I'll deliver your baby for you, I'll be your support and deliver your baby, run the opposite direction. It's not our scope of practice. Okay. So understanding what the role of a doula is before you step into the role is very important. Okay. Second, I want you to understand what your why is. Why do you want to be a doula? What about being a support person to other people appeals to you? And sit down and kind of use it as a journaling exercise. You know what I'm saying? Like sit down and really, really think about why you want to become a doula. Now, a lot of times doulas will step into the space of birth work from a place of trauma. And when we are coming from those spaces, we want to make sure that we're getting some sort of therapy in the background so that we can deal with the issues that come with birth trauma because it happens. Even seeing a birth when you weren't a doula, it could be traumatic for you. So having somebody to talk to, having a support system for yourself is extremely important. So know what your why is. Second, have you ever attended third, have you ever attended a birth before? What was that like for you? How did you feel afterwards? Asking yourself those questions to kind of help you filter out what your why is also going to be important. Another question you might want to consider is, have you ever networked with any other doulas before? Do you have friends on Facebook that are doulas? Have you inboxed them and asked them what is life like as a doula? Because I'm really considering stepping into this work and I want to make sure that I'm making the right decision. So have you ever networked with any doulas? And what kind of advice did they give you? What types of questions did they ask? And how did you feel about the response? So taking all of those things into consideration when considering becoming a doula is another important thing. Talking to somebody about their experiences kind of helps you figure out if this is a life for you. Because one thing about being a doula is when you have a client, you are on call pretty much the entire time they are your client. Contractually, you'll be, on call for them maybe 2 weeks before their due date. But at any point, something can happen during a birth. And are you able to support that? And how would you feel if that was to happen? What types of doulas have you heard of? Because there's a variety of doulas. You have doulas that support birth. You have doulas that support in just the postpartum period. You have doulas that support abortion. people finding their sexuality and coming into contact with that. So sex doulas, you have doulas that assist with infertility and, getting a client through that and offering resources for infertility. You have doulas that offer end of life support, sibling support. There are so many types of doulas, okay? And I want you to know which specialty you would like to specialize in. If you want to do birth for now and move into something else, if you feel like you don't like it, that's perfectly fine. But I definitely want you to start thinking about what type of doula you would like to be. Have you researched any doula training so far? If so, what is your budget? And what do you want to learn? Because a lot of times we get into a space where, especially if you are in in an area that has like several doula trainings, you're looking at all the ones that are there. You know, some that are more popular than others. But let me say this: popularity does not equal quality. Okay, so neither does investment. The cost of the doula training doesn't equal quality either. So you have some low cost doula trainings that are amazing, and you have some low cost doula trainings that are trash. And it's the same thing with popularity. Just because it's popular doesn't mean it's the best. Just because it's not popular doesn't mean it's the best. So making sure that you're choosing a doula agency to be trained through that aligns with your birth philosophy, which is bringing me to another point. What is your birth philosophy? If you were a doula today, what would be your birth philosophy? Are you supporting any and every birth? Are you gonna, support high risk births? How do you feel about birth? How do you feel about things that happen that could go awry? Like, what is your birth philosophy? Sitting down and really thinking about that will also help you choose the type of doula training you want to take. So really think long and hard about birth philosophy. Okay. Also, what type of instructor are you looking for? Do you want somebody that has a lot of hands-on training? Are you okay with doing a hybrid training that's like kind of partially online, partially in person? Are you looking for instructors of color? Are you not, and do you not care? You know what I mean? Like really leaning in and thinking about what type of training you want to take. All these questions is something that you will have to consider. Okay. Some other questions I had written down for you, because I wrote down a lot of questions. Just thinking about all the stuff that I could possibly ask you, because it's a lot in going into thinking about what you want to do as a doula. If you've been thinking about becoming a doula and it's been a long journey for you, I'll just tell you my experience, right? My journey to birth work started in 2009 after the birth of my first baby. My first birth was a C-section. I thought I had one of the best births ever. Like I thought I had, experienced everything I wanted to experience. And yes, the birth didn't necessarily go the way that I wanted it to go, but it inspired me to be a doula because I had doulas at my birth when my son was born, and he's now 12. So I want to say maybe he was about 6 weeks old. And I said, I want to be a doula. I want to start training to be a birth worker. And I was literally the only Black face in the entire training. Long story short, I did not finish doula training in 2009 like I wanted to, mainly because of family issues and financial issues, stuff like that. And so I ended up waiting. I didn't officially become a doula until 2016. So that's 7 years later. So what is your struggle with stepping into birth work right now? And think about that. Really think about what is keeping you from doing something that you've been thinking about doing for a long time. And if it's something that you're struggling with, you might want to grapple that before you get into any type of birth work, so that way you can feel most prepared as possible. Okay. What action steps are you taking right now to become a doula? Are you Doing your research like we discussed earlier. Are you attending births with friends that, have been like, I really want some support? And we're like, oh yeah, sure, I'll offer that support. What are you doing right now in order to take those action steps? Are you going on ahead and networking with the other doulas? If not, if you're not doing anything right now because you might be struggling with your why and what's making you struggle with stepping in, you might want to start getting out there. A lot of times I've been seeing a lot recently that says, do it while scared. It's okay to do it while scared. Um, I think that's when you have the most growth, is when you just step out on faith and you just do. Okay. So, what action steps are you taking towards becoming a doula? Also, when looking at a training, you want to think about what's important to you. Is mentorship important? Being able to network with other doulas who are also going through the training, or who have been through the training prior to you, that can kind of give you some pointers to kind of help you through. Is that important to you, and is that available in that training? And you can always reach out to the doula trainer to ask them what they have available for the people coming through their training. Are there any like CEU style classes? Like maybe they didn't fit everything into the doula training, so they have these professional development situations that you can do in order to learn more. Like, what are you seeing with the doula trainings, and what's important to you? Some other questions that I have seen online, I'm going to give a shout out to Jessie Rimmer, who is the founder of Mother Tree Birth. I found her doula life plan questions, and these are some amazing questions. Okay. And so, thinking about your emotional well-being is one big thing about being a doula. I'll just tell you from experience, I did not take my first client until 2018. Yes, trained in 2016, didn't take my first client until 2018. Let me tell you why. Because I was not mentally ready to be a doula. And this takes me back to my birth story, my second birth story. So I have a son with special needs. If you follow me on Facebook, my last name is not Reddit on Facebook. It's McPike, MCPIKE. You will see I have a son with a trach. He's on a vent. He is G-tube fed, which means he has a tube that goes into his stomach that feeds him by machine. And his birth was traumatic. I almost lost him during his birth. And so during my doula training, I learned about perinatal mood disorders and what they are. And during that portion of training, I had a complete meltdown. I mean, tears, wailing, everything, mainly because I had come across, for the first time ever in my life, postpartum PTSD. And as I'm looking at the signs and the symptoms and I'm going through everything, I was suffering from those symptoms 5 years postpartum. Okay. And I had no idea. I had absolutely no idea that that was even a thing. Okay. One of the things that was so impactful was my doula trainer told me that I was not ready to be a doula and that I needed to seek some mental health support before even stepping into the space. And at first, I'm not gonna lie, I kind of resented her for that because I was like, well, I'm ready today. But I wasn't. Truth be told, I was not ready in that moment. I wasn't. I was still, I hadn't even grappled with what I was feeling about that experience from my then 5-year-old son. He's 10 now. I didn't realize that I had a problem until that very moment, you know? And so I didn't want to bleed on my clients. So I ended up going to therapy and getting some help with my mental before taking on any clients. Have I had any traumatic births since then? I had one birth that was questionable as far as trauma is concerned, um, where baby did end up in the NICU, and I had to support that mom. And let me tell you right now, my doulas were not me. They weren't my color. Okay. Um, and that's when I learned that representation mattered because I was not supported fully by my doulas after the birth of my baby, who spent time in the NICU. And more than likely, the reason for me not being supported by them was probably because, first of all, they were students. They were student doulas. They didn't have any experience yet. They were gaining the experience for their certification. So they were like training alongside taking births. Okay. And I wasn't fully supported um, through that. So think about your own situation that you may have been in with regard to the birth of your children or watching the birth of someone else. How did that make you feel afterwards? And were you traumatized by any of that? Because if you were, chances are you may need to see a therapist. Not, I mean, I definitely recommend seeing a therapist prior to stepping into the role of doula if you have any birth trauma, but also continuing to have somebody to debrief with, joining some support groups for moms who have, or birthing people who have experienced any type of birth trauma. Find those support groups and see if that helps a little bit, and if they even have resources for therapists that can help you to navigate how you feel about the birth that you had experienced that caused you some trauma. Um, so also physical and emotional abuse in your life. Have you experienced any of that at all? And the reason that we partially, that I'm asking you that question is because medical coercion, medical abuse is real. And it is something that you may have to tackle while supporting clients. And so if you've experienced any of that in your life, it may be triggering, okay, which is another reason why it's important to think about your emotional and mental well-being before stepping into birth work. Because events in life in general can be triggering. And so you want to make sure that you are ready, that you feel ready, and that you yourself have support before you step into the role of being a doula. Have you talked to your partner about any of your desire to become a doula? If so, what did they say about it? How did they make you feel after hearing what they had to say? Because that's important. Also, if you have children, your partner or a family member or a friend may have to support you by watching your children as you attend a birth. And so you want to make sure that they are ready for you to be on call. And when you're on call literally 24/7, at least during the time of your contract that you say you're on call. Okay. Um, and so how do they feel about that? Or are they going to be prepared to drop whatever they're doing in order, to get to the children, to get to your pets, to water your plants? Like, you might be gone for a few days. The longest birth I've ever been at was about 3 days. Of course, I had to come home and take breaks. And I suggest getting a backup doula. And that's why networking with doulas in your neighborhood or not neighborhood, but in your region or in your area is of high importance, because you need doula support as well. You get what I'm saying? So you want to get close with, get cool with, get to know some of the doulas in your community so that you can have that support as well. If you were asked to support a birth today, how would that make you feel? Would it make you feel scared? Would it make you feel like, oh crap, I'm not ready for this yet? How would that make you feel? if you were to ask to support somebody today, do you feel ready for that? Also, thinking about your body and its well-being, do you have any physical complications that keep you from lifting? Do you take drugs? Are you using alcohol, smoke, any of those things? Um, they can be something that your doula client might not want. I don't want a smoker, you know. Um, it makes me uncomfortable to know that my doula drinks, you know. You will run into clients that are like that. And so how does that make you feel from that aspect of thinking about your body and what you put into it? How might long nights, 24-hour on call, physical demands, how would that affect your health? And thinking about that as well. I'm not gonna lie to you and be full-blown transparent. Right now I'm having back spasms. And it's not because I supported a birth. It's because maybe I feel like I slept wrong. I slept like a rock last night. That's a whole nother story for another day. And I have a kid that I have to live from time to time at home on a daily. And so sometimes back problems can catch up to you. So it's important to use good body mechanics, work on your gait, which is how you move, and your mobility. So thinking about those things, how would supporting somebody upright on your feet, being able to massage, get down in there, how your knees, girl? Because not everybody got meg knees, meg knees. Because I know I sure don't. They was cracking earlier today, mainly because of the back spasms. But that's still another story for another day. Either way, how is your body? Do you have a chiropractor? I really suggest getting a chiropractor to probably everybody. I'm one of the most chiropractic. I'm always recommending that people get chiropractic care because I'm sure about to try to schedule me an appointment for these back spasms. But keeping that stuff in mind about how your body would feel being on those long nights and 24-hour call times and stuff like that. So really think about that and see if that's something that you are able to cope with, able to deal with. Um, and yeah, some other questions I might have about being a doula would be like, think about, do you think that it'll support your well-being as a family, as a member of your family? Because one thing I'm going to tell you is charge your worth. When you become a doula, I'm not going to say if, I'm going to say when. When you become a doula, ma'am, they, him, her, whoever you are, when you become a doula, how do you see yourself charging? Think about your lifestyle right now and what you would need to charge your clients in order to sustain that. And how does that make you feel when you look at that cost, that pricing? How does it make you feel? And how might it challenge you financially to be a doula? It literally costs nothing to start. Literally costs nothing. Like you could basically be supporting people. What training does is give you the knowledge that you need behind supporting those people. So with that being said, I could have walked into my first birth and just been there as a support person, just being there and massaging. I know how to give a good massage, at least I think. I know how to get some ice water and get some blankets and ask the nurse for the things that the birthing person may need. I know how to do all that myself. But what I want to know is the medical terminology that goes that I might hear. So I'll know how to explain it to my client. I want to know how to do comfort measures and what the mechanics of the pelvis is. So that way I'll know what I'm doing and why. I want to know, I don't know, how to support a mom in the postpartum period. How do I start breastfeeding with a mom? Like, how do I help them or the parent, how do I help them get that started? That's what training does. Training gives you the information needed to be able to fully support somebody, but it doesn't cost to get started. Okay. Um, this was supposed to be an hour-long session, but that's okay. We can end it here. But I'm going to end it by telling you about my doula training. I have a doula training through Virtuously Birth Doula Services called the Virtuous Doula Training, and it is an 8-week hybrid course. So when you're thinking about what it is, the type of training you want to do, remember, I talked about hybrid just a little bit. Hybrid is where it's partially online, partially in person. Okay. So I have 4 cohorts a year. I am in the first cohort of 2022. The next cohort starts in April. Okay. Again, 8-week course offered through a classroom, virtual classroom setting. Drip format, which means that every week a new module opens up for you to go through. So what I don't want to do is overwhelm you with information in 1 week. I don't want to do that because I know how I am. And I'd be like, girl, this is too much. And I would have walked away. That's a whole nother story for another day too. So anyway, 8-week drip format. So every Thursday, classroom opens up with new content. You get a training manual. You get my doula planner, my prenatal meeting planner for doulas, a free copy. You also get 2 in-person comfort measures trainings if you are in the St. Louis area. Otherwise, it continues to be virtual if you're out of state. So I'll send you a link where you can join so that you can be a part of the comfort measures training and get that portion as well. I also have CPR training in person only for the doulas because I require that all of my doulas be CPR trained. So I'm a CPR instructor through the American Heart Association. So there's that. And you get 15% off of all my other training. So placenta encapsulation. What else do I have? A bunch of other stuff. Either way it goes, it's a lot. Okay. And that you get in that 8 weeks. Also, you get mentorship that extends to you long after you're done with the course. 20-minute coaching calls. Oh, listen, it's a lot that you get in my training. The investment is $985, and I will attach all of the information on where to find more, how to sign up, the flyer for the training, and everything after this video. So you'll see that shortly. And if you have any questions, if you want to pick my brain, if you want to say, hey, Keisha, because everybody calls me Keisha for short. If you want to say, hey, Keisha, I just had a couple questions about what you said about da-da-da-da, fine. Inbox me on Facebook. You can inbox me through Virtuously Birth Doula Services, or if you're my friend on Facebook, inbox me regularly. I don't care. We probably talk anyway. But definitely, if we're not Facebook friends, reach out to me via the business page. You can even schedule a call with me where we could just talk more in detail one-on-one for a small fee. Like, I have a lot of things open and available to you all for any assistance that you might need while learning about whether or not you want to become a doula. So that's all I have for you today. Be sure to follow me on Facebook at Virtuously Birth Doula Services, on Instagram at Virtuously _ birthed doula 17. Not on Twitter yet, but I need to be. On TikTok at Virtuously Birthed. You can follow me. I'm around. You can find me on Doula Match if you got people that are interested in being a doula. I'm on the Sister Midwife page and National Black Doulas Association. So I am here. If you need me, reach out. Okay. Talk to you all soon. Be blessed. Have a safe one. Peace.